Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Welcome to Adobe Max 2020. We've got a fully digital experience here. And if you're joining us on YouTube or anywhere else, we're actually live on behance.net. Or if you go via Adobe Max and the Max chats, you can see the discussion all happening. And today, I'm joined with Matt Vandeputte. So we'll go through a little bit of an intro about who both of us are, and we're going to be spending the next hour talking about video. So Matt, please introduce yourself.
Video? I'm kidding.
Matt, please introduce yourself. Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, my name's Matthew Vandeputte, or Vandeputte. I'm a Belgian/Australian time-lapse photographer, travel filmmaker, educator. All my videos playing right now. So yeah, that's a little reel I made. Showcasing some of my work. I hope it's playing smoother than what I'm seeing right now. But yeah, I'm obsessed with time-lapse. I'm obsessed with clouds. I love showing people the world from a different perspective. So yeah, time-lapse is the way to go. It's the opposite of slow motion. And I just, fell in love with it, I think about 10 years ago. Been doing it ever since. I teach people how to do it on all my channels. And today, we're talking a little bit about some of the new features and how I would use them, how I would implement them in my workflow. And yeah, it's going to be, I hope it's going to be a fun, casual chat and a hang with Joe on the other side.
I love the way that you just described time-lapse as the opposite of slow motion. I never really thought of it that way, but that's kind of a cool way to...
We're here, slow motion's there, time-lapse is here.
Yeah, so
that's why I think also... That's why they complement each other really well in like cinematic edits when you combine time-lapse and slow motion, especially in the same shot when you like composite two scenes into one another. I think there's something about the fluidity of a lot of the motion, like, clouds and how people move in crowds and stuff. It's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, you've definitely inspired me to do a lot of time-lapse, and you've given me a lot of tips along the way and other stuff. So to introduce myself, I am Joe Allam. I am a travel photographer. I also have a YouTube channel, and I discuss a lot of my photography and trips when we travel in normal circumstances. And I show a lot of the behind the scenes of capturing the images and sharing some of the tech along the way about photography. And I draw myself to a lot of the filmmaking process. In the last 5 to 10 years or so, I've been doing a lot of video work, and hopefully in today's session and in future Adobe Live sessions, can pick up some tips on a lot of the video and the technical side, because I am quite drawn to how the technicalities work and the workflows. So hopefully you can learn some bits along there and share some of the extra things. Matt, just a fun little note I was thinking of this morning. So with it being the week of Adobe Max, this is actually our 2-year friendiversary, if you want to use that term.
Friendiversary, totally, yeah.
So we met
LA, I
2018,
guess, when travel was still a thing,
Yeah, I mean, Adobe Max is always been
do you remember how we met specifically? Where both of us vlogging at the same time, like, oh my god, I think that's Joel.
I think so. I mean, we've shared this story before on chats with people, but we're always drinking, and I feel like we always actually properly forget. But we originally bumped into each other like 4 years ago or something at a Instagram meetup with Taku in Sydney, and didn't really like actually meet each other there, but it was just sort of like from a distance, both saw that had cameras and vlogging or whatever. But yeah, it was then when we went to Adobe Max 2018, saw your name on the list because you were part of the Australia team. And I was like, I know this guy. He's got a YouTube channel. Let's go and chat. And a few beers later, many beers later.
One of the highlights of Max is the friends that you meet along the way and the beers you get on the showroom floor, I guess. Yeah,
definitely. It's been an interesting one this year, being completely digital. I've watched a few sessions. I'm actually going to paste them in the chat because there are 2 in particular that I found really, really good. So whilst we're looking in the chat, there's quite a few regular faces, which are always great to see, and a lot of new people who are obviously here from Max. So if you guys are sticking around for the rest of today, I think you can rewatch some of the stuff. So I'm actually just going to paste in one of my favorite videos. I don't know if that's clickable, so you may have to copy and paste that. but it's a run through of Eric Spiekerman's font studio. So I'm a big typography nerd, and I found that really useful. And one that's perhaps just a little bit more relatable to today, which is all about video, is from Vashi Nedomansky, his Premiere Pro workflow. So he does a lot of editing for feature films, and he's kind of like a workflow expert. So he's put together, I think it was 10 tips from the complete workflow of a feature film. So from ingest to export of the, what do they call it? The Texas master file, something like that. So yeah, I found that really, really insightful. But let's get on with today. So today we're going to be going through some of the new updates in video from Adobe. So we're going to start off with Premiere Rush, and then we've got some Premiere Pro things. And then we got a few talking points of some extra bits that unfortunately we've not been able to have the access to the software just yet, but we got some videos that show it working, so we can discuss those.
We've been trying hard. Get everything smooth and running.
It's been a chaotic one with everything being digital, but it's been good fun. So yeah, Premiere Rush. Let me just open up my window so I can see what's going on. So hopefully you guys should be seeing my iPad here. So if we open up an existing project that I've got. All right. So this is actually a fully completed video. It's about 10 minutes in length. And it was all filmed on iPhone 11 Pro last year. So in terms of Adobe Rush, it's fully capable to do video work of pretty much any camera. But I actually find myself using it more for clips that I've taken on my iPhone. And I think, Matt, you do the same with smartphone stuff. You don't have an iPad, do you?
I don't have an iPad. I don't have an iPhone. I'm a Samsung user or an Android user, maybe. But yeah, I use Rush most of the time to like combine little clips for my social media, either Twitter or Instagram, mostly Instagram stories. One of my recurring bits that I do is, and I should have done it for today, is when I go and get a haircut, I film myself looking quite rough, and then I sneeze, and then I have gone and gotten a haircut, and then I cut the sneeze. I repeat the sneeze when I'm looking fresh and clean, and I just splice it. And the splicing's easy. The user interface on the app's very easy to do, and it's just it's a jump cut really, but I hide it in the motion of the sneeze, and you'd be surprised at how many people have no idea what just happened. They're like, "Oh, it's weird. He just sneezed on camera." Yeah, and it's the fact that I went and got a whole haircut. But yeah, I use Rush all the time to just do little edits like that. I haven't shot, or I haven't made like a cinematic edit with it, but I recently discovered the built-in camera as well, which is nice. Nice to use to have manual control over white balance and I'm not sure aperture. I guess that depends on the phone. You wouldn't really have many aperture controls on a lot of phones, but it's nice to get pro features, I guess, like that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I need to look into, because if I'm shooting on my iPhone, I'll quite often use Filmic Pro. You get like a flatter color.
I never use it. I find the usability of that really. I guess you got to get used to it, but I'm always confused by all the logos and the icons and the symbols they use. I don't know what this means. And then you press it, and then all the settings change. And maybe I need to spend some more time with it. Maybe you and I can collaborate on a video on how to use Filmic Pro properly to shoot some pro stuff. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, I'm kind of in a similar boat, actually. I use Premiere Rush if I'm doing just very, very quick edits and things. Personally, I would love to use it for some of my bigger workflows. But unfortunately, the cameras that I use quite a lot, the files that come out of them are incredibly large. So although Rush can handle it and I can put the files in, I can work on it. I can either import direct to the iPad, or I can use quite often use the Creative Cloud drive just to synchronize stuff over. The fact that cumulatively all of the files are so big, if I'm traveling, it's just a bit of a mission to upload like 300 gigabytes of footage and then download it again. So although it can handle it, and I've done it a few times, I always do need to finish in Premiere Pro. So it's
yeah, there's some workflow things that perhaps don't work for the pro user, but for the the regular smaller social media content, Rush is perfect for that.
Totally.
So some new additions that have come in this year. So there's a whole new like sound library, and got some loops and some music tracks and sound effects and things. So this is now all available in the Add Media tab, and you've got audio here. So it's got a whole new browser, and we got some soundtracks that you can just play and go through to more. So you can have a little play around here and listen to some things. I'm thinking the audio is coming through, hopefully.
I can hear it. Pretty dramatic.
So, yeah,
like
it was
about
called.
to happen.
It was called drama. So
Yeah.
dramatic is the term. We've got an elegant harp here. That's,
Dream sequence initiate.
yeah, maybe you could do
Throwback.
that before your haircut, or afterwards. You sneeze and then
I'm
in comes
dozing
the
off
harp.
at the barber.
There's some EDM stuff in here. There's a whole host of tracks in there. Some fairly well-rounded choice, I guess, just for things. And it would be a simple case of selecting your track, tapping add, and from there you can just add into your timeline as you would have done previously if you had a music track from somewhere else.
I think that is an insanely great value add to this piece of software.
Yeah,
To have that in there so easily and kind of like the plug. I mean, it's not even plug and play because you don't have to plug anything. It's just there. So it's kind of play.
Yeah.
Big fan of that integration. I've used, I've worked with a bunch of music websites, music licensing, royalty-free stuff, commercial music. It's always such a pain.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to download it and then, import it in. The fact that it's built in, it's pretty sweet. It's pretty nice. But still, I'm not a fan of looking for music.
Yeah, it's a pain every time. We've got an additional aspect here of loops, which again is something that's quite interesting. So if you're making short clips with your stories that were, an Instagram story is 15 seconds a clip, I think it is. And if you had multiple in a row, having your audio cut, or suddenly you add an extra bit to your story, maybe you're doing it throughout the day, you could perhaps use loops, which will be music or audio that is set so that at the end of it, if you were to repeat it, it would loop over seamlessly.
Is that why it's called a loop?
I'm assuming so. They are logical in their thinking here. So we can add in some loops. And again, we've just got a generic collection of things there. But for stories and social media, that's sort of what you want and need. So that's the new audio browser experience we've got in there. And there is also a new titles browser. So from here, you can add some of the built-in titles, or if you've created titles in Premiere Pro, you can synchronize those across with your saved Creative Cloud libraries. Unfortunately, this only works with the titles created in Premiere. So if you've created titles in Adobe After Effects, they won't work in Premiere Rush. The reason for that is that in order to get those motion graphics templates working in Premiere Pro, it actually has the complete After Effects engine built into Premiere Pro, which, as you can imagine, is massive. So unfortunately, that's not on Premiere Rush. But if you were to make titles in the Premiere Pro Essential Graphics, you can synchronize those across. And again, there's a whole host of ones that you can browse through and add those in, with a simple drag and drop, and in go your titles. And from here, we've got controls if we wanted to adjust the fonts that are being used, the character spacing and sizing, your colors, everything down to the finer details on those titles.
We've come a long way as far as titles go in Premiere.
Yeah, titles add a significant amount to a narrative, I find. It's just like you're able to add that extra little bit of a narrative push to say, this is what I'm really talking about. Mm-hmm. And of course,
because I'm just
stories,
waffling on camera, but this is the focus of what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
That's how I changed my vlogging style when I travel now, to just focus on not having to worry in the moment of what I'm saying and just kind of like shooting, filming, traveling. And then afterwards, I can kind of create a narrative through the titles. So yeah, fully agree. It's a good good tool to use.
It's definitely a way to save yourself. I think we're notoriously bad for waffling. Like the amount of times look at us now. Tried to incredible trying to catch up on something, and we're like, right, get to the point. And okay, right, taking a note to myself here. So the title browser is new in there. If you've used Premiere Rush before, you should hopefully find it a cleaner experience. If you haven't used it before, then you should be good to get going straight on your feet. And some other incremental updates we've got in here are some new transitions. So if you wanted to add a wipe transition, a slide transition, so you can push things across the screen. And one thing that I love to do is add photos, obviously. So if we go add media, and I've got my Creative Cloud here, and let's open up some images. So if we add in some photos, we can now do a very simple auto pan and zoom. So let's choose something that's kind of cool here. Let's go for a portrait one. Let's see how that looks. And let's go for a regular, let's go for a horizontal one and another one. Okay, so I'm going to add these 3 images. It's just going to drop that into the timeline. And if I wanted to drag those across onto other layers, we can see we've got 4 layers of video and 4 layers of audio that you can add. Sorry, I can't even count. That is 4. 4 layers of video and 3 of audio. So let's just hide that back, keep it simple. Make that a little bit larger. So we just added in a vertical photo here, and you can see it's just tap to fill. But if we go into our effects, close the transitions, and we've got a pan and zoom. So now if we were to play this aspect, it can zoom across on our photo. And if I didn't want it to be cropped, let's go fit into the photo, so I can just drag that in. And if I want to add in my next image, again, tap onto here, enable the pan and zoom, and now when we play, we just got a very simple pan and zoom. I believe more control and sort of granular detail on how the pan and zoom will work is coming, but for the moment it's just a very simple auto on and quick and rushed response for Premiere Rush.
Incredibly well done there, that Rush.
They've got the labeling and the words right in this. So another aspect with Premiere Rush that is very useful is obviously we're filming a lot on like cameras and video, and if you're doing it the more traditional way, you'll be filming horizontally, but when we share on our stories and IGTV, it is all in vertical. So we can auto reframe our content into a different orientation. So at the moment we're in 16:9. If we tap to 9:16, our video has changed. But look at what's happened with this footage. It's kind of, fit in place. And if we were to select that track and go to, where am I looking? Go to our effects, we can enable the auto reframe on this video footage. And what that would do is it will keep the frame filled, but it will automatically adjust which part of the frame is going to be visible in the viewport. And using AI and machine learning, it will get to know which are the most important aspects of your frame. So if we just tap that on, and we can choose the motion tracking to a slower or faster, depending on your preference of things. I'll just leave it as default. And you can see that as I'm tapping it, look at how the frame has just adjusted in the picture here. So it's kind of centering that aspect of the alleyway that I was filming. Let's find another aspect of the video. So perhaps there's something with food here.
Oh, that looks great. I'm so hungry right now.
It's a lot of food. And again, with the auto reframe on and off, it will just do the things that you want it to do in an automatic way, which when it comes to making for social content, it's all about being quick and snappy, and everything's there in your place. So Adobe Rush has had a few updates, and they should be publicly available. But let's now take this across into Premiere Pro. I think, Matt, you've got some footage we can share. So I think I need to disable this screen share.
Do I share mine?
I think you now enable yours.
Let's
and Tim should be on the back end, working his magic as usual. And we can grab your screen.
Sweet. Yeah, so what am I talking about? Sorry, I lost track here. I was worrying about screen sharing. Cut points? Scene detection? Is that what we're on?
Yeah, that's the new aspect. So in the new Premiere Pro, we've got the ability to open in the footage for the auto scene detection, and you can work your magic with that.
Which works so well. And obviously we've been playing with this and testing with this the last couple of days. But yeah, this is that little reel that I shared at the start. Oops, that's loud. Let's just show how it works. So this is a pre-rendered, I guess. It's for an older conference that I made this. But yeah, there's a heap of old footage in there, but it's still kind of high quality. And sometimes you want to reuse a clip, or you want to reuse something for social. You don't want to be, looking for all your hard drives. So you find the highest possible quality export that you've done. I've got a lot of those in, places I have access to quite easily. But yeah, they might be in an edit. So something like this, if I want to reuse, for example, this little composite that I made, I could, like back in the day when we were ingesting DV tapes, like manually cut each clip. Or now it's just become so easy to make all these cut points. I think you can right click as well and go to scene edit detection. And then you get these three options. So you can either apply cuts, and then you can actually create a bin of subclips as well. So let's do that. Or you can just put markers there. But if we now just hit analyze, look at how fast that goes.
Just thinking, you could even do this, because obviously you're posting a lot of your footage on YouTube. If you were uploading like 4K sequences of things, and or even you've got a particular video that was 3 years old and you can't remember where it is on your hard drive, but you know exactly where it is on YouTube. Mm-hmm. You could download the footage there. And
I do that all the time. I'm not ashamed to say it. I do that all the time, just like downloading the highest possible quality I can get, pretty much ripping my own YouTube videos in 4K to find a certain clip. Because I would re-review some of my time-lapse cameras. I'm like, all right, 3 years later or 4 years after, my first 62 usage, let's see if it's still a valid camera. And I relocated from Australia to the UK a while back, and a lot of that original source footage is back there. So I download this YouTube clip, and then you got to find the shot and this and that. But this makes life so much easier. So as you can see, it's created this bin here with all. Does it have all the stuff in there? Yeah. Anyways, you can see it in the timeline as well. It's just cut them all and then put them here, nice and organized. And yeah, it's just so easy. We were worried at first how it would work with like transitions and stuff. There's not many crazy transitions in here, I think. But yeah, it just works.
Just finds the cut exactly as you want it.
Super easy.
And I guess what's nice about this, you enabled the subclip mode, right? So that puts it all into the bins. Mm-hmm. You could essentially then save that as a project file. It's a little bit like when you're working in Premiere originally, and I'm going to forget the name of this, I'm just going to quickly search for it. But when you're working in Premiere originally, and you've got all your source clips, and you've got a sequence of things, and you've trimmed all your stuff down, you have this option, and I'm not sure if I'm going to find the correct name of it, but you can compile your video file down to the exact cuts that you've made in your clip. So it creates the trimmed versions of all those media files that you can then archive. Yeah, so you can sort of consolidate your library.
Yeah.
And everything is there just to the prime bits of, the prime cuts if you will.
That just brought me back to film school where they taught us about that. And I was like, I don't think I'll ever use that. And actually, it turns out I have never used that.
I've used
I
it
just
a couple
keep buying
of
more
times,
hard
but-
drives.
Yeah. It's useful, if you're making like a supercut of something, because they can get super heavy in file sizes. And then from there, you just know that is your best, sort of like the best clips are the best clips. It's a little bit like in InDesign, where you can package everything, and it packages the images, all of your assets and fonts and everything, just all into one handy file that you can then send to the printer.
Yeah.
It's
on a drive,
great
work on a
feature.
different system. I used to have a desktop and a laptop, and then I would just have everything on a solid state drive that goes between systems, and then you keep your software up to date. And yeah, it's nice. Editing on the road, then getting home, plugging it into another computer. Boom.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
else are we
likewise
talking
with the auto reframe, you can repurpose some of those clips if you want to compile like a few of those, and then you can. I think you've got the auto reframe you can share on some of those.
Yeah, so if I, on this sequence, just hit right click and go auto reframe sequence, I think what it does is it duplicates it. Yeah, so it makes a duplicate sequence, and then you can choose which aspect ratio. And this is something, I wanted to mention this earlier, we're shooting all the time. We're both YouTube creators, but we also both love sharing stuff on our stories. So we're going from 16:9 to 9:16, which is so annoying. And I often shoot, clips twice, but some clips are they only happen once. Like a helicopter flies in between buildings, and it's how do you decide?
Which do you prioritize? I find if I'm holding my phone, because I'm holding it vertically, it's so easy to just film vertically. But I do find that when I switch to Filmic Pro, my muscle memory just turns my phone sideways. For whatever reason. But when I do it from the home screen, it's always vertical.
Yeah. Look, at least we're not filming with the built-in camera in Instagram stories, right? Because I see so many people do that. And then people are like, why is your quality so much better? That's a little tip from me is if you're, creating, just film it in a separate, the native camera app, or, something like Filmic Pro or Premiere Rush camera, which has pro features built in as well, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, look, I don't know. I find it hard to figure out what to do. I guess it's if I'm filming for something like with a purpose, and I know that I will be making a big YouTube edit, then I'll, obviously focus on the horizontal one. But some of my last trips, I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I just shot everything twice, and it's bloody annoying. But something that kind of helps with that is this smart reframing. And I assume it's Sensei powered, right? Or the smart machine learning. That's the thing I do miss about real life Max is the amount of times you hear Sensei. Everything's Sensei powered now. But yeah, duplicates the sequence, give it a name here. And then you choose your, your aspect ratio. So 4:5 I use a lot for my Instagram feed posts because it fills the screen more. And I wonder if they're ever going to change that to even bigger, can we post 9
Well,
by 16?
IGTV is 9:16.
Is it?
But the preview screen is 4:5.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, sorry.
And then TikTok, I think, has
right.
got a different aspect ratio. Or maybe that's just on my phone because I've got a silly screen size.
Yeah, yours probably zooms in a little bit.
Say we want to go from this 16:9. Oh, I didn't notice the custom one. Let's not do that because maybe that goes wrong. But yeah, you can go to like 4:5. Motion tracking, slower motion, I think. Don't miss the clips. And let's just see what happens when we hit create. Bottom right here, you can see it's analyzing for auto reframe. Here we have auto reframe sequences in a nice little separate bin. And I'm just going to let that run. But yeah, it is, it saves so much time. Like the amount of times I've had to, actually not too long ago, a couple of months ago, I had to shoot for a big tech company and I literally shot everything twice.
Yeah.
I wrote my script. I had the setup for widescreen and then the setup for Instagram, IGTV or stories.
I mean, it's big business. Like you're, working with clients, paying clients who are asking you to make this social content in vertical format. And
actually, this is
it's
bad
not going anywhere.
I can charge more if I'm like, I have to double film, I have to double edit. So this is actually a bad implementation. No, I'm kidding.
But we're
but I
seeing
mean,
it on
yeah.
cinema cameras, like the new Canon C70
they got
has a vertical
filming
mode.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, in film school, they're like aspect ratios, wide, eyes are like this, wide, everything. And that's just been ingrained inside of myself to film, or at least think that. And it's still a bit odd to film high quality stuff vertically. But that's the truth. Like, look at how many people, you know, consume it vertically. I once asked my audience on YouTube years ago, I was like, I wanted to do 4K uploads all the time. And then I had a look at who actually consumed it in 4K. No one did at the time. Now it's different, obviously, you know, we've got 4K phones, etc. But it's like, why am I putting myself through all this effort, all this energy and money that goes with it as well? But yeah, now there's a big audience that's got their eyes vertical.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, this works well. You can just scroll through it. It's got everything in frame because these things were, I think, framed differently. Spotted that surfer there on the edge because that was on the edge of the frame, so it's reframed it properly there. Those buildings are well positioned. Yeah,
I think the priority on things is people first. So if you've got any sort of face or person in there, it will track that, particularly if they're moving across the frame. And I've actually got a version of that I can show as well. And then I think like buildings, and just from there, the sensei, and someone in the chat has called it sensei voodoo. So the sensei voodoo will get involved and will choose whichever it deems the most prominent. And for the most part, it does a really good job of that. And I believe if you go into the effects control, I think it creates keyframes on the movement. So if you did want to adjust things and tweak stuff.
I did notice that. But it does clash with the normal motion. So you can't. Right. Yeah. Because sometimes I want to adjust, but then I haven't played with that too much. Let's see what happens if I do that. Just position. Do I analyze again? I don't know. I haven't given it too much playtime. But yeah, it's cool.
It gives you a whole separate sequence as well. So you've always got the original sequence to work with. So that's pretty useful.
Yeah. Anyways, massive time saver. To just go from a project that is 69 to 4x5 to not have to redo all your keyframes, all your motions, all that stuff. Yeah.
Even just getting zoom to fill can be a bit of a pain sometimes, highlighting everything and then scale to fit. And then you realize that some of it was filmed in 17 by 9, others 16 by 9. And you're like, oh, I've got to zoom a little bit. Then you export it, and then you realize that one of them is still small. I've done that.
There's a little black bar somewhere, and you're like, oh. And then you have to re-upload it for hours. Up until yesterday, when I got fiber internet now. I've joined Joe in a higher realm of fast speeds, and I haven't had that many replies on an Instagram story as I've gotten until today. People are like, I won't say it because I don't want to swear on stream. But yeah, people are very upset with me right now because of my internet speeds.
Just another thing, I've just had a little check through our notes. One of the comments you made on the scene edit detection is it's a reminder of when we used to film on DV tape. Yeah, mini, micro, whatever was around. Plug in with FireWire, remember that? Oh. And you'd have to watch through everything as you were ingesting it into your computer, and you'd have to find your cuts. And you'd be like, well, here's a cut. Back 4 frames, cut. Yeah. Kids these days, they will never have to do that. So no, I don't know if it actually some of them are. They're like, oh, let's take it back. Let's make something cool. True. Yeah, I've seen that at festivals. People filming on like VHS tapes. I'm like, wow, that is what 30 years ago. Yeah, pretty funny. But yeah, that was a therapeutic. I mean, it's actually good if you're editing it yourself, obviously, and you shoot it yourself. It really. I don't know what you call it in English. But yeah, I mean, you just go over all your footage and you make notes, and that's how you start the edit. You know, you write down your time codes and start puzzling pieces together as you're ingesting it, as you're watching, as you're making these cuts and compiling your footage, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. God, we don't have to do that anymore. Yeah, I know. We've actually got a feature on that in a little bit, in a moment that will kind of be reminiscent of that, which will revolution our workflows. But anyway, let's switch over to my screen now, I believe.
Do I stop my sharing?
I think you have to stop it, and then Tim works his magic in the background.
Who's Tim? I keep hearing these things about Tim, but
Tim is Sensei.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's
he's
just in your
switched
ear.
on.
Tim say.
Tim say.
Yeah. Oh, I have to do some screen sharing buttons here. So
Tim say only reaches so far.
There we go. So I choose my screen 1, I believe. Should be sharing.
There it is.
And in a moment, you should be able to see my screen. Right. So let's just go back to that. Turn that off. There we go. Okay. So I'm actually using the Premiere Pro beta here because there's an extra feature that has been demoed, and I don't believe it's in the public release that was announced yesterday or the day before, but it should be coming very soon. So
is this a public beta or a separate beta?
So this is available in the Creative Cloud app. So in the sidebar where you've got your apps and your updates, if you scroll down, you've got the betas and you can choose. I should note that I wouldn't recommend using them on production work because with it being in beta, there's development and things can go wrong.
Unless you're a thrill seeker, obviously go nuts.
I mean, I actually did a project with Atomos recently, and I had to use the beta because it was using some of these new features in Premiere Pro, and it worked. And I went through, and that was a client project, so it's a little bit unnerving, but it worked. So there is an element of stability that you can trust. But for the sake of a lot of people watching this, I wouldn't recommend using it on your production work. But it is a great way if you want to get a inside look into what's coming. So
it's a great way to give feedback as well.
Yes, definitely. If you want to shape the way that the software is changing and to go for things that you want or you want to see come to the software, definitely. So this is a recent vlog that I made on my channel. So it's published earlier this week. If we zoom all the way out, so it's a 15-minute piece, and you can see there's a whole number of elements in here. I think I can mute my audio actually, because this may be a little bit distracting if I'm scrubbing through. Or perhaps, I don't know where the control is to do that. No, you don't hear it. Perfect. Okay, so I've got this this section here of the vlog, and I've actually just added a little handy marker to myself. And I was thinking this could be great if I wanted to auto reframe it and share it as an IGTV. So I've got my full sequence, and if I set a in point on the sequence by tapping I on the keyboard, and then I go to my out point, which is just here, O, and I could lift that, and I could create a subsequence, and I could convert it into different formats. But there's a feature built in now that I could quick export this footage. So I've created that, and then in the top right, we go to quick export, and I could choose a location for it, and I can choose from a collection of standard presets. So we've got a 4K version, HD, 720. Hit export, and that will just grab that section and then boom, throw it out, create a file. So the reason that this is good is, and I've created a tidier version of that as that sequence, so I fixed up the audio. But the reason this is good is because I could have my sequence, and if I was working on a client piece, and quite often they want to see reviews and feedback, I can just quickly export what it is that I'm working on, and I don't have to worry too much about the bit rate that I'm doing because it's not a final master. I don't have to worry too much on the audio controls. Quite often clients just want to see something. They don't pay attention too much on the tiny details of stuff, and you want a small resolution that you can upload for two reasons. One, so that they don't take it and run without paying, but also so that it's just a rapid process to get feedback and reviews. So the quick export is just built into the interface up there in the top right. But likewise, I could take this whole sequence, which I've got in my sidebar, and we could repurpose this into a vertical format. So I've got it here for IGTV, which is a tidy 4-minute clip, which can go landscape if you wanted on your phone. But again, if we right click, auto reframe sequence, and I'm going to choose a vertical 9:16. Don't nest clips, so that's cool. Create that, and then near enough immediately, actually, I was kind of surprised by that. That has then created this IGTV version. And if we see from the first clip, let's go back to the wide version. So look at this clip here, where in the original format, I'm walking across the frame. And let's see what happens here. So it should.
Look
at that.
Really cool.
That's Tim Say at work. That is doing the magic. Following me walk across. And of course, it then finds people and keeps the framing nice and central. If I was moving around, it just kind of follows it. Now, as you can see here, there is also elements that I've got of my titles, and it hasn't adjusted those. It's not touched those at all. So my titles that I've created, and I have those available, they are all in 16:9 format. So if I wanted, I could readjust these, and I could make my my positioning and my scale as normal. So there are elements to the auto reframe that are completely left untouched, and you would go in and make your other adjustments, or I could create some titles specific to 9:16. But the bits that matter, the video footage, that all works greatly in here. And once again, I could have this whole sequence and tap the output and do a quick export, or I could do a full manual export with all of the features. So yeah, so that's the quick export, which is a great addition, I think, to Premiere Pro. And likewise, if I was to take my Sights and Sounds video, which was the one I showed on the iPad, which is all filmed on the iPhone. So I can't remember where I've saved all of my original clips here, because they were all filmed on iPhones. They're in like camera roll, and it's that's a whole other hot mess. But I have the full export in 4K, which I could again right click, scene edit detection, apply a cut. I could create the sub clips if I wanted, and then from there I could export those, and then I've got those in a tidy place and I can organize it. In fact, I probably should do that for myself at some point. Hit analyze, and I think this may take a little bit of time, which is why I have already previously done it. So again, here is my sequence of things, and from there, say I had a particularly good clip. I think there's an early one that I quite like. I may be able to select that one clip and do a quick export of that. So let's say, I think this one is quite a nice detail on it. So from here, X on the keyboard just sets an in and out on the clip that's selected. It's a handy little shortcut if you don't know that one. And once again, I can just do a quick export, or I could find it in my project subclips and I could export from there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of quick export. I use it a lot just to test footage. The amount of times that I'm doing color grades and I want to see how it looks on an iPhone or on my TV or on iPad, and I'll export a 20-second, maybe minute long at most element of my video. And then from there, I can see how the color grading works. Or likewise with my titles, so I've been building a complete set of titles. If I want to make sure that they're actually working correctly and that the animation fits perfectly. So I can have that title and I can see it works in Premiere, but sometimes if you're exporting, you don't notice, or rather when you're working, you don't notice typos and you don't notice other mistakes that you may have done, or I might decide that actually, you know what, I want to change the theme of my titles. So I've built in a whole collection of different color themes in these, and I might export it and then think, you know what, I wish I'd chosen a different theme. So yeah, big fan of quick export. I think that's going to revolutionize a lot of the workflow on things.
I think what you mentioned at the start there is something that a lot of people overlook when they're making high quality stuff, which is testing it, seeing what it looks like, not just on your laptop, but on what the biggest amount of people will consume it. You know, is it going to be watching them? And that's good that you can get the data from YouTube as well. Are people watching on their tablets or on their TVs or on, you know,
definitely
whatever it is really. So give all that a go. Same with like building thumbnails. You got to go and have a look, see if you would click on it by making it very small.
Yeah, definitely. It's I don't know how many different devices there are. I mean, when I was designing designing websites and all the different viewport sizes, and when responsive design started becoming a thing in 2010, and it just became overwhelming. You think, well, how many resolutions? There's no longer just the standard 1024 width that people would work with. It is overwhelming. So testing on a variety of devices, but not going overboard on it. For me, I usually limit to just my desktop here. I've got a pretty great screen that I like watching stuff on. TV, which goes through Apple TV, and then iPhone, iPad, and that's just a great all-round experience, I find. I probably should test more on Android. Be interested to see how.
Just send it to me. I'll have a look.
Yeah, how's it going? So that should actually be a nice little segue onto one of the extra features in Premiere Pro, which is the type of work that I do more of. And that's some of the higher quality things, and the addition of HDR workflows and ProRes RAW support in Premiere Pro. That's getting better all the time. ProRes RAW is a growing format. If you don't know what ProRes RAW is, it's the raw data signal from a video source that can be manipulated and adjusted digitally afterwards. It is a developing standard, so it's not as fully fledged as something like Canon RAW or Redcode RAW, but because it's still that raw sensor output. Over time, we should be able to go back to the original clips and make adjustments. In order to record ProRes RAW, you do need a camera, so I've actually got one here. This is the type of setup that I will use, which is a Panasonic S1H filming externally into an Atomos Ninja 5 over HDMI, and that gets the ProRes RAW support.
What resolution is that comes out of that?
So this is a 5.9K sensor, and yeah, you can record ProRes RAW 5.9K, which is great to pan around, zoom in, crop in the same way that we used to do the 1080 footage in a 4K timeline, being able to move stuff around. And it's a big heavy system, but the quality you get from ProRes RAW is phenomenal. It's really, really great. So that is a bit of a hardware hurdle, but the introduction into using it in Premiere Pro has been improved. So I've got a clip here, and immedially you look at this and you think, what on earth is that?
Well done.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, Siri's saying, not sure. So
I'm not sure how you did this.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously this looks awful. And the reason being that ProRes RAW is recording the complete sensor output from the camera. So it's the full dynamic range, and the S1H has a massive dynamic range.
Which is noticeable, by the way, in your vlogs. Because I shoot on the S1 and I haven't got my picture profile set up as you do. And I see the dynamic range that you're getting in your videos, and I'm like, teach me your ways.
So the trouble is we're getting all of this color, but our displays are only able to show this amount of the picture that comes from it. So we're getting wider than what is technically possible on the majority of displays. So what we actually need to do is we need to conform this into the right color spaces and gamuts and gamma settings. So this is how the original clip looks. And if we select this and go into our source footage, you see that we've now got ProRes RAW available. And built into Premiere Pro, we've now got the ability to choose which of the gamut settings we've got for the camera. So this is in vgamut, so it's vlog, and you see that immediately that has now created a very flat looking image. It's starting to look a little bit more like what we're used to with shooting in vlog on the camera. Oh no!
Too much dynamic.
Too much streaming. Let's go back to. Let's reopen
That's the fun of live, isn't it?
So we've conformed that footage, and it looks in a flatter space.
Because I've never actually used any raw video footage. You have the raw in the timeline. You tell the software what it is, then it looks like it's just a log stuff, and then you apply your grade on that log. Do you apply a lot on that log?
Yeah, so there are two steps that we go through. So we have our clip first that we set the so it's labeled in Premiere Pro as the color space. So we set that to lost it again, vgamut. So yeah, so this is the gamma setting, but then we would go into our lumetri control, and we can either do this on the clip within the sequence, or we can do it on the master file. I'm actually going to do it on the master. And from there, we will then set the input LUT, which is our technical LUTs. And the technical LUT, we go to vlog raw gamut. So it's a very slight change, but it's just now conformed it to exactly how vlog looks out of the camera when you shoot vlog on a standard Panasonic. And then we've got the official LUTs, which will go from the raw gamut to the vlog vgamut for S1H. And now we have something that looks a bit more workable, and we can grade with this in our usual style. So ProRes RAW then gives you the flexibility to adjust exposure and everything. There is more coming on that, and I've actually got a tutorial on the Adobe Atmos page, which explains this whole workflow and takes it even further.
I think we're about to get booted off the stream.
Some of the updates I'm noticing we are very close to the next stream. So I want to thank everyone who's been watching. The chat has been moving quite fast, and
it's been fun to watch. It's been pretty busy. Yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, there's always a lot happening on screen, and it's these are going to be available to watch back after the fact as well. And the Adobe Live will continue on Behance following the following week and beyond, I believe. So that's always going to be fun. Thank you, Matt, for joining us.
Thank you. This was good. It's on to the next one.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And we will catch you in a future one real soon, I do believe. Thanks for joining, everyone.
See ya.
you.